It is halftime between Mumbai and Kolkata in Abu Dhabi, and Rohit Sharma's side have put in a far improved 20 overs of batting than what they did against Chennai on the opening day. 195 for 5 is what they've managed. Rohit Sharma, who loves playing against the Kolkata Knight Riders in this tournament, has put in another innings that he'd remember. 80 of 54, batsman who looks like he has so much time at the crease has ensured the innings has enough time as well. 2 hours and 8 minutes after the first ball was bowled. Here we are on a halftime show with Tom Moody and Sanjay Manjrekar. So let's get into it, gentlemen. Tom, good runs those, 195?
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty pleased with that total. They were on track for, something over 200 at one stage. They just seem to have lost their way a little bit for a few overs in the middle, but recovered it. But a brilliant innings from Rohit Sharma, but clearly he was, running out of steam. The heat obviously over there was, playing tricks with him, and he couldn't, I suppose, swing as freely as he would like or run between the wickets as well as he would have liked. But I'm just going to leave you with this last point. I can't understand for the life of me, Pollard faced 7 balls.
Yep, that's it. I wanted to come to it, maybe a question or two into Rohit Sharma, but
I had to get it off my chest.
Let's leave it. Let's go into it straight away then. Kieron Pollard faces 7 balls, and a score that should have been in excess of 200 is now below 200. Let's get both of you into a nice detailed discussion, because we had this chat on the opening game as well, and Gautam was absolutely, flabbergasted as to why Kieron Pollard, a man who's had batting form in the CPL, hasn't been coming in earlier. Sanjay, 2 occasions. One when the wicket of Saurabh Tiwari fell, and before that the wicket of Surya Kumar Yadav fell. What do you make of that? Kieron Pollard coming in as late as he did.
I think there is a case for Pollard to come in before Hardik Pandya purely on match form, current form, but I guess they want Hardik Pandya to get some game time. I think that is the only reason I see that Pollard has been held back. It's almost like Pollard for Mumbai Indians is this guarantee that you use him when you really want him and he'll fire. Hardik Pandya, even in the last game, Gautam Gambhir was making the point. It made a lot of sense for somebody who's been in great hitting form in a match. And you saw Hardik Pandya looked rusty in the last game to begin here as well. Looked a bit rusty. So that's the only reason. He could have come before Hardik Pandya, but not before, Saurabh Tiwari. I thought the batting lineup until then was good. Tom,
where would you have liked to see Kieron Pollard come?
I would have had him in front of Tiwari. It was around about, I think he came in about the 11th over. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The 11th over, 98 for 2, the score at the time.
Yeah, and to me, Pollard is and has been one of the most destructive middle order batsmen this game has ever seen, being T20 cricket. Why you wouldn't want to introduce him after the 10 over mark onwards is beyond me, because you just don't know what is possible if you give him 30 balls. He is likely or is capable of scoring a 70 plus in that time. And the most important point is he is the form player. He's just walked away. He's walked away from the CPL being the player of the tournament, and he's walking straight into the IPL full of confidence, seeing the ball like a football. I get the fact that you want to get Hardik Pandya some game time, but not to sacrifice a winning score.
And there's quickly, I want to make a point. Tom is absolutely right. For somebody who's got his kind of ability, form as well. If you remember, Raunak, Mumbai Indians, even in a final game at the D.Y. Patil Stadium, are big on left-hand, right-hand combination. No matter who comes in. And the only reason Tiwari would have come in, because Rohit Sharma was batting there. And they are always big on it. There might be the coach. The coaches have changed over the years. So maybe it's the captain who is a strong believer of this left-hand, right-hand combination. I remember them keeping Pollard back and sending somebody like a JP Dumini into bat at that time in that finals, just because he was a left-hander.
Standout partnership of the game has been the one between Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav. Trying to understand where the obsession remains between right and left for Mumbai. But a good point by Sanjay. They have done this in the past. Yes, Tom, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's very interesting, that sort of left-hand, right-hand combination, plus the matchups we see with bowlers. We always see that a left-arm spinner's got a bowl to a right-hand batsman, or an off spinner comes on against a left-hand batsman. I think and it makes a lot of sense, but, and this is a very big but, it cannot cloud your thinking to make the right decisions at the point of a game situation. Yes,
absolutely.
Most of the time use it because statistically it tells you it's the better option. But there are times where you need to put that aside and go with your gut instinct.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to throw up here is that Hardik Pandya, in the last game, if I remember also, hit his first ball for 6. Kieron Pollard, correct me if I'm wrong, Sanjay, is the kind of batsman who likes to take his time a little. So if you have to decide the hierarchy between a Pollard and a Pandya, wouldn't it make more sense to keep Pandya for those last 2 or 3 overs, where even if you give him 8 or 9 balls, you can have an impact, whereas Pollard is at his best when he's had 20, 30 balls. Fair point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, on pure merit, pure common sense, that's that term again, common sense, Pollard should have come in before Hardik Pandya, but I get the feeling that they're trying to get this guy some match practice because they believe he's the big player for Mumbai Indians and he hasn't bowled yet. So some game time with the bat, and hence Pollard is kept back. You always get this impression that Mumbai Indians just want to hold Pollard back and try and develop all the other players around him as if he's like the sure shot guarantee that when we really need him, we'll use him and he'll come good.
Tom, just for the benefit of some Mumbai Indians fans or some cricket fans saying Tiwari had a good first game. He's come in today and hit 21 of 13. That's not a bad innings either. But why don't you try and just qualify why Pollard would have been a more effective player if he would have played those 13 balls and come in at that point in the 12th over?
Well, it's just down to pure quality against one player against the other. And, I'm not trying not to be too negative against Tiwari, but you only have to look at the history of both the players. Who has put together the most devastating match-winning innings over a 10-year period consistently, and who's been in and out of franchise cricket? Pollard has been one of the game's giants. And he's done it because he can do stuff that a lot of people can't do, and that's why he's always a highly sought-after franchise cricketer. So give him more balls so he can have a bigger impact. If you're only giving him 7 balls, he can only have a little impact at the end. Just imagine if you gave him 30 balls, what he could do. Look, he may have failed, but you're better off going with what is a proven match winner and seeing what he can do. Who knows? They could have got 220.
Yeah, quickly, Raunak, to answer your question specifically, had Pollard come in early at the time of Saurabh Tiwari, and had he got going, you'd have seen him 230 on the board. That is what Pollard does. But as I keep saying, this is Mumbai Indians thing. They have this left-hand, right-hand combination. They're obsessed with it. And, before Hardik Pandya, yes, Saurabh Tiwari at the time, I thought, okay, fine. But in the end, you've got to feel for him. Last game as well, not too much time. Today with just 7 balls to go. But, they've got the score that they want. So in the end, they'll be thinking, why are you discussing Pollard? We're happy with the score. And if they defend it with 10, 15 runs to spare. But I'm with Tom on this. Giant of T20 cricket. And as I said, had he got more time, more balls, then Mumbai Indians would have been 220 or something like that. So that is the kind of devastation he wreaks.
It's awesome that we have to keep discussing this every season, right? Mumbai Indians win IPLs and then start the next one, and we keep having this discussion point of where should Pollard bat, where should Pandya bat. If they got everything right in the first game, we have nothing to talk about. So maybe it's a good thing that they keep doing this, the Mumbai Indians. Not the ideal way for a Mumbai Indians fan for Kieron Pollard to celebrate his 150th appearance for the franchise. Just 7 balls faced by him. Who knows? Maybe he'll have a role to play with the ball, because that's a discussion that we had saved up for our halftime show. But before we go to Mumbai's bowling and KKR's batting, let's have a word on Rohit Sharma's innings, 80 of 54. And Sanjay, we saw the very best of him today, pulling off the back foot.
Incredible. And it's almost like the opposition said, we hear that Rohit Sharma is a good puller and we'd like to see that. It's just unbelievable that all the boundaries and the sixes that came were off short ball. And finally, when somebody bowled full, which was in the end a full toss, he got out. But forget about that. We saw some... Yeah, Tom.
I was just going to say they were so generous, weren't they? Just to treat us all as the audience to seeing Rohit Sharma play those pull shots, because no one does it better.
Yeah, a technical observation on why he gets this pull shot so right. I mean, Pat Cummins, what a
Please.
welcome he got. Short of playing ball, both disappearing for sixes, 2 overs, 30 runs. I mean, it was a terrible start. And I'm just going to be a little cheeky again. And, because he's been expensive in the auction, doesn't mean that he has to be, expensive matches. But that was humor
Fine.
on my
Well
part.
done. You got that off your chest as well.
Yeah, I had made a note
Almost
of
came
it,
to
and I
this
thought I'll
mid-inning
get.
lines you wanted away in the first few minutes.
Okay,
Yes,
now
go on.
seriously
On a
speaking,
serious
the
note,
short
yes.
arm pull is just an incredible shot, and he connects it every time because, when you look at it, there's hardly any backlift. He's sort of waiting like this, and the bat swing that you see is after he makes the connection. So, Tom, if you're a coach, you've been with the team, so it's very interesting. There's never a high backlift like this where you can sometimes miss the ball or be late on the ball. So the ball is coming and his bat is right here. It's never here. It's right here. So it's just about this contact and the bat finishes here to give him the power. So it's amazing. The ball has to be just a little short, not bounce up, just a little short. And that shot is just incredible to watch. I've always believed the pull shot is a great batsman shot.
And Tom, it's not always associated with Indian batsmen. Rohit Sharma has kind of changed that.
In what sense? Changed?
As good as he is of the back foot, I mean, not all Indian batsmen.
Sorry. Yeah, look, absolutely. No, look, I think to be fair, I think that there's a number of players that have evolved over recent years that have played well off the back foot.
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma is exceptional at it, and the key to being a good player off the back foot is a player that reads length quickly. We saw Johnny Bairstow the other night do a very similar thing off that short of a length, those short pull shots over, sort of straight mid-wicket or squarish mid-wicket. And it's only very few batsmen can do it, and it's the batsmen that read length quickly because then they can get into that position and execute that shot. The players that don't read length, they're not looking to play horizontal bat shots. They're getting in behind it vertically and just dropping it into the leg side for one.
All right, let's have a quick comment on Pat Cummins as well before I do get on the second innings. None for 49 of 3 overs. At some point, he would be at the receiving end of some harsh criticism. But Sanjay, what went wrong with the bowling itself for a man who's a standout bowler in other formats?
Well, we mentioned at the start of the show as well. I mean, Raunak, you mentioned that he's got this big name. He's been a success in recent times in Test match cricket, but not known as a great T20 bowler. He'll eventually become one. And you've got to say one game looked a little out of rhythm, maybe a little bit of pressure coming after a long time playing in the IPL. He's bowled on Indian pitches before. So that's not an issue. But I want to ask Tom about this line that we saw from most of the KKR seamers of bowling outside the off stump all the time. Warrior, Mavi as well. One of the disadvantages with that line is you get no leg before no bowl. So I don't know whether it makes sense because back one side and bowl one side of the stumps. That's what KKR did right through.
Yeah, firstly on Pat Cummins, I think he just started poorly and couldn't recover that situation. And I sense also that there was a distinct plan against him where they thought they'd put him under pressure early, knowing that he could have an influence on the game. So they wanted to get the upper hand on him early, which clearly worked. But I just felt that he bowled too short and he was punished because of that length that he was bowling. And he'll correct that moving forward into the tournament, no doubt. And to pick up on the line, Sanjay, basically a lot of teams, when they're bowling defensively, and that's where they're looking just to reduce the runs, they'll opt to bowl that sort of wide line outside off stump, try to mix the pace up and the Yorker length on that wide line and set that offside field and have the extra deep fielder on the offside purely to make a situation where you're only bowling to half the field against bowling to both the off and the leg side. So they feel that it's the best.
Tom, my problem was that they started off right from ball number 1, Sandeep Warrior and Mavi bowling outside the offside. You talked about being attacking in the first 6 and then being defensive. It was that line right through from start to end.
Yeah, and I reckon that was their safe space. I reckon and that's probably a sign of inexperience. I think they're probably thinking, and they would have listened to the team meeting. They would have listened to the bowling group discussing how they're going to go about bowling in these conditions against certain opposition, certain players, and they have just thought, well, this is the safe place. I'm just going to bowl it a foot, 2 foot outside of stump, and just try to get away with my 24 balls through that corridor and hope everything's going to be okay.
One last thing that I would ask you, Tom, is the use of Pat Cummins came into ball the 5th over. So the Indian seamers got the new ball and then came back for the 15th and 17th and didn't complete his quota. What did you make of that?
That's a really good point. I would have given him the first over, purely because you want to make a statement. You want to set the tone from a team's perspective, but you also want your premium fast bowler that you've paid all this money for a chance to announce himself on the stage. Coming in after, the show's already started, it's harder to make that statement. So I think that was a tactical error. I would have definitely had him bowl the first or second over and probably bowled 2 early overs to try to take wickets. And my instruction to him would have been, I want you to run in, bowl quickly, just try to knock him over.
Yeah.
Do you want 2 slips or just are you happy with the 1 slip? I would have gone very much attacking with him and given him the free spirit to go hard and bowl with that fearless streak in him.
But good move not to give him the 19th, and Andre Russell bowled the 19th, which turned out to be actually the best over in the inning. So that was a good move, not just because he's Pat Cummins, to give him the 4th, because he had already gone for about 13, 15 runs in overs.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost a tribute to the Mumbai Indians that our halftime show has also gone into overtime today. First over has already begun. but
I hope we don't get fined. Do we get fined over rate?
I don't know. I dare not find Sanjay Manjrekar. And I don't
when we talk more, we don't get fined, but we lose fans.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Let's get final comments, though. The game's already begun. 195. I think more questions will be on when Andre Russell comes in, at what point do KKR introduce him. And also, we did tease it up, whether a 6 bowling option should be flirted with. Rohit Sharma needs to manage his bowlers better. Quick comments from you, Sanjay?
Due factor, so you've got to say that there's certain advantages in chasing. I just want to see a tight game. I want to see Morgan get going. So you can't say that it's a one-sided affair. Who knows? Morgan gets going, Andre Russell, Dinesh Karthik, and hopefully Pollard or Hardik Pandya a couple of overs to see the 6 bowler.
Tom?
Yeah, this game's not safe at all. KKR still got very much a say in this with the due factor. Plus, they've got players in their batting lineup that can win their match on their own.
All right, let's see how things go. We'll pick up this conversation at the end of the game then in 4.5 hours time from now. Thank you very much to Tom Moody and Sanjay Manjrekar. We will have post-match comments from both Tom and Sanjay at the end of this game. Do join us then on ESPN Cricket 4 as well as our Facebook and YouTube channels to watch our Whirlpool presents ESPN Cricket 4 T20 Timeout powered by Dell.